Hello and good morning and welcome to a rather different garden safari for Hullabaloo. Now normally at Hullabaloo we have a whole range of fantastic specimens of wildlife. We have fossils, we have bones, we have pellets, but we also have what are called wet specimens. That's creatures that are preserved in medical alcohol, which means that it will stop them from decaying, and we can have a really close look at them. And these are things that have been picked up or found dead and just kept so that we can have a closer look at them. And some of these things are things that we just wouldn't ordinarily see or see very rarely or be very lucky to see. And so I've brought some of these things from Hullabaloo, which you would have seen on the wonderful exhibition tables at the festival here, so we can have a look and be part of the experience of the online Hullabaloo festival. So on the table just in front of me, I've got two of the most brilliant of those wet specimens, and these are adders. So let's have a look. So you can see they're in their little jars, preserved in alcohol, which will keep them in good condition for a long time, and it means that we can continue to carefully use them and make sure loads of people have a close look at these absolutely stunning creatures. I'm just going to get my shadow out of the light, it's not very helpful, and you can have a closer look. So on the left, it's actually quite an old specimen. This is from our local high school, and it's one of the sort of things that just aren't used really anymore. They're not really needed in biology teaching, so we were able to salvage this and include it as part of our Discovery Bay collection. And that's probably a female adder. It's quite an old specimen, it may have faded a bit, but female adders tend to be browner, essentially greyish brown with a brown zigzag marking, whereas the male adder tends to be much paler, white, almost silver, with a really bold black zigzag. But both show that really characteristic adder marking, which is the black patterning on the body and the cross on the head. You can see it really clearly. Now adders are really quite rare nationally now. They're retreating to the edges of the country from the centre. They've always been found in the wilds of the west and in the north, but it was a lowland creature pretty commonly, and over the last 50 years has declined very, very significantly, loss of habitat and persecution to some extent. But we still have plenty of these beautiful things on the island. They are our only venomous snake. Getting a bit closer so you can see this beautiful thing. Fatalities are incredibly rare. There's only been a handful in the last century. Of course, it's painful to be bitten by an adder, but they are defensive bites. Usually they hear you coming, feel you coming through vibrations in the ground, and they are long gone before you get to them. So it's not a big snake. So grass snakes are much bigger than adders when they're fully grown. Fully grown adders about 60 centimetres. They can live for a long time, maybe up to 15 years if they're lucky in the wild. So these are long-lived animals, and they have complicated habitat requirements to sustain them over that sort of a lifespan. And it's really important that we understand this and that we try and provide for them when we're looking after the countryside, because these are part of our amazing British fauna, and we really, really want to make sure that they stay in healthy populations, so that we can continue to enjoy the fact that they're there, even if we don't see them very often. So their venom is quite a weak toxin compared to many snakes around the world, and so it's nothing to be too terrified of. Although sadly, just because they are venomous, they have been persecuted. People still, in some parts of the country, still go out and hunt these poor things completely unnecessarily. So adders hunt for small mammals and amphibians. They need to hibernate. It depends where they are in the country, how long they hibernate, how cold the winter is, but often down rabbit burrows. So they need somewhere that they can retreat in the winter. They need places to bask, to warm up, of course, so that they can then hunt, and they need places where they can hunt, so that there's plenty of food for them. So these are the things that we need to know about adders so that we can ensure that they are looked after. So these are adders. I hope you enjoyed looking at their spectacular markings. Absolutely stunning reptiles that we're very lucky to have here on the Isle of Wight. And in our Isle of Wight biosphere, one of the things that we have to do, one of the objectives of biosphere, is to conserve our biodiversity. And of course this is a part of our biodiversity, so we will do everything we can with partners and colleagues, wonderful organisations like the AOMB and the Wildlife Trust and the National Trust to continue to make places where these wonderful animals can thrive. So there we are, our 2 adder specimens from the Discovery Bay collection, brought to you on Hullabaloo at Home. I hope you've enjoyed seeing these beautiful things.